and welcome to the Inferno Combat Podcast. This is Hadrian.
It's big man of best boxing right here.
And we're here to talk some combat sports. So first up, on what we have to talk about, the Conor McGregor fight, Callan. The Conor McGregor fight. What do you think of that?
Well, it's very interesting. I'm not gonna lie, the whole UFC event was lit. You had an amazing event. Even the undercards were lit. You had the Dan Hooker fight, which ended very unexpectedly, kind of like the Conor McGregor fight, because no one would have predicted that Dustin Poirier would have knocked out McGregor. This was the first time McGregor got knocked out in his entire UFC or combat career, which is just crazy. But I was impressed when I saw McGregor, given that this was like a year layoff. He performed amazing. He outboxed Dustin, in my opinion, in the early rounds. First round, he dominated. Second round, it was closer. And of course, Dustin knocked him out. But I think where Dustin got the advantage was with those brutal leg kicks. Those fucked him up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Man, as you know, we both predicted that Conor was going to win by knockout. So him getting knocked out was quite shocking, especially since he's only had submission losses before. So it's it was not. I didn't even expect it really. But props to Dustin Poirier. Just shows he's just a real champion. I mean, lots of people kind of put him out of the picture when he lost to Khabib, but that just shows just how good Khabib is. So I think there's no shame in Conor losing to Dustin Poirier. He's not over the hill. He did do well. He outboxed him. He was just, more vulnerable to the kicks. And I think that, in fact, him doing more boxing is affecting his, MMA career badly because he's, not as, I don't know, he just wasn't as good as, blocking the kicks as before. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That was a wild ride. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. And we both watched. One thing I noticed was that Conor had a very weird stance. I don't know if you noticed, but he took this fight a more of boxing stance rather than his MMA stance.
With his hands up here, yeah.
And his leg stance was super wide, so that left him super open for those leg kicks. If he had his more usual MMA stance, then I don't think that would have been that effective. But I don't know.
Yeah. I felt like he also wanted to get some rounds in. He wanted to, feel himself in there whilst, the older Conor McGregor we've seen before, he really wants to get his opponents out of there quick. Because, Conor's gas tank isn't the best. And that showed here again. After, the first round, Conor wasn't as explosive. And Dustin Poirier, it wasn't that Dustin Poirier was more explosive. It was that Dustin Poirier was just faster and he was just getting to his punches. And Conor got caught. He wasn't able to keep his balance. And in the end, there was nothing he could really do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mad respect to Dustin. The way he evolved as a fighter from the last fight, I don't know. It's just crazy. Over the 6-year period, he evolved into a more complete fighter. He has a good ground game. Striking, he has to be one of the best strikers in the division.
Easily,
exactly. He might even say he's a bit better than Conor at striking at this moment. But I do still think that Conor is the best striker in UFC history.
Talking about Conor being a good striker, what do you think will be next to Conor McGregor? What if you were Conor McGregor? Would your next boon be?
Well, I don't know, because after a loss it's always tough. But yeah, he has some good options. I think the option that would make the most sense is go for Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, he's kind of an easy fight right now for Conor. He's much older. He's past his prime. His striking game isn't that great, but he's a lethal submission artist. If he wins against Tony, then he can move up and fight Gaethje. And if he wins that, he can potentially challenge Khabib for a rematch for the title. But I don't know. I think that's the smartest game plan right now. Do you think?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that also narratives make good fights, and they're both coming out of losses, and they're both, trying to redeem themselves. So a fight between them, the winner could face someone in the top 5, and I then after go on to get a title shot. But I think, Conor McGregor just needs to stay active. That's the main thing, because inactivity hurt him in there. You could tell that he was a bit rusty, and he needs to get that rust off ASAP. Because if not, he's not the youngest cat in the division. He's just gonna get, if he wants to stand a chance right now that the golden opportunities approached with all of Khabib's belts, potentially being vacated soon. But talking about that, what do you think is going to happen next to the lightweight division in UFC? Because I think that's personally, in my opinion, the best division in UFC.
Well, I don't think it's only in UFC. I think the lightweight division is the best division in all combat sports.
Yeah.
I'm talking about UFC and boxing. I don't know about others, but I don't know. I think what would make the most sense, honestly, I see Dustin becoming the champion. And I don't think he's going to fight Khabib, because Khabib has no intention of coming back at the moment. Because we both saw in that interview with Dana, he said he's above everyone else, which is a shame. But I don't know. It's a tough question.
Yeah, there's also not as much demand for like a Dustin Poirier rematch against Khabib as there is for a Conor McGregor one, because Conor, Poirier doesn't have the same kind of profile and the same attraction as Conor has. So even for Khabib, it's a smaller payday. It's one which is it was very decisive his win against Poirier, so he doesn't really need to prove anything. So I mean, for Khabib, unless someone like Oliveira or Chandler, becomes champion, there's really nothing for him to, even make him entertain coming back for that 30,
Or Conor, if Conor manages to come back, then I do think Conor is the only one who can take him out of retirement and make him fight.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. There's definitely like a demand for it there as well. So that'd be good if that does happen. So Amanda Nunes has a fight in March. But what do you think about that fight?
Yeah, it's been a while since Amanda fought, and she's fighting a really, really good opponent as well for the featherweight title. So it's going to be interesting, definitely. She's going to have a lot of pressure on her. But I do think she's one of the best women, not in the division, but in the entire UFC. Amazing ground game, amazing striking game. She's just so complete. She's kind of like the Khabib of women. Like, no one wants to face her.
Hey, that's some pretty high praise for her. And I would agree. I think that I was really impressed in her last fight. I think she's been looking very impressive. And I'm just hoping the ring activity isn't, going to affect her too much. But to be honest, I don't think it will. So, best luck of her. She's facing the number 1 contender. So props to that as well. It's a great fight. So talking about UFC again, it's been popping off recently. We've got a pretty big heavyweight title fight coming soon. What do you think about that fight? It's
actually gonna be really, really interesting. Him coming off, I think one of them is coming off a defeat, so it's gonna be a redemption. But I don't know. Heavyweight, I don't know. The heavyweight division in the UFC is kind of weird because it's not getting as much love as the boxing division. Heavyweight division for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But because no one really knows top tier heavyweights in the UFC. There are not that many. If you look at welterweight and middleweight and lightweights, you can name tons, but not in the heavyweight. That's kind of weird. But I'm gonna check it out, because I'm a huge fan. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to both of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it hasn't been a big, star in heavyweight for a long time. Like when you're thinking the type of a Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua, the last heavyweight from the UFC I can really think of was Brock Lesnar, but he was coming over from WWE, and that's kind of his profile got brought over there. But talking about UFC and boxing, the thing which is here is going to merge the worlds together is Jake Paul. Jake Paul is facing Ben Askren. It's coming up in April 17th. What do you think of that fight? Do you think Jake's got a chance? Do you think this is going to be Jake's time to get exposed? Or do you think this is, his big step up that he's going to succeed in?
thing is, right, when Jake took this fight, he was smart because he listened to the people. The people wanted him to fight a pro fighter, where Ben is a pro fighter. But the thing with Ben is, he's probably the worst striker in UFC history. Like he's so bad. He's a really good
Yeah.
wrestler. Don't get me wrong. He's an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
wrestler.
His
But
ground
when
game
it
is very
comes to
solid.
striking and boxing, he's garbage, bro. He's trash. Like no cap. Okay, Ben, don't get mad if you're watching this, but honestly, it was smart because people doubted Jake, and I do think Jake, especially because he's training with George Masvidal himself, game bred, who knocked
Yeah.
him out in 5 seconds with a flying knee. That was just that was probably one of the most insane knockouts I've ever seen. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be a big fight, and either way, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step up from Nate Robinson, who was like a former NBA player. Given he is in shape, but he's not really a fighter in the sense of the words. And yeah, I mean, Jake Paul is looking to KO Ben Askren even faster than Masvidal did. He's trying to do it in 3 seconds. Now I've seen some clips. He's been training with Masvidal, been trying to get like a one punch KO in the first punch. So it's gonna be interesting to see if how Jake reacts if the fight, because it's an 8-round fight. Jake's never had an 8-round fight. If Ben Askren does survive like the early onslaught from Jake, will Jake's gas tank, survive? Because he gassed out against Deji, so that's like something to look out for.
Yeah. Also, one thing I'm worried about is Deji made him bleed in the first round. Like,
Yeah,
and Deji wasn't a pro boxer.
yeah,
Well, this guy is. He's a pro MMA fighter. Even though I'm saying his boxing is trash, it's still better than Deji's and all of those guys that he fought. Plus the experience. So it's definitely a challenge for Jake. Um,
and I feel like this is the only time that Jake's really gone up against a winner in the sense of Ben Askren has he has a fighter spirit in him in the sense that like none of Jake's old opponents had. He is a fighter first, and then whatever else seconds. Whilst for Jake, it's been basketball player or I just think of YouTubers. So it's gonna be interesting if he beats Ben Askren and he beats him as easily as he's done with Gibb and Nate Robinson. It's gonna be interesting to see where he goes from there. And talking about Jake Paul a bit more. I know a lot of people don't like when you talk about Jake Paul, but he is one of the biggest names in the sport. You can't like you can't not talk about him. So yeah, there's been lots of back and forth, of course, with the British YouTuber KSI. What do you think of Jake's pretty severe calling out of KSI, saying that he's not fighting him, he's ducking, or
it's an interesting topic because I guess I can see where Jake is coming from. And from an objective standpoint, I can say easily that Jake has to be one of the best YouTube boxers. Like,
yes,
he's better than KSI at the moment. Just
yeah,
because KSI hasn't been training. He after the Logan Paul 2 fight, he kind of chilled on the boxing. And I don't know if KSI is necessarily scared or ducking him, but I don't think he has that intention of fighting Jake at the moment. Maybe in the later future he will, but I think he doesn't want to fight at the moment. That's the reason.
yeah. I definitely do agree with you because I think um you know he's probably waiting for, to be honest, the crowds to come back and the live audience and the live gates, because the KSI more so than Jake, this is really about making business sense. And
Yeah.
I don't think that KSI sees fighting Jake with like less profit that you'd get if you just waited as worth it. But moving on from YouTube boxing to actual boxing, Ryan Garcia, Manny Pacquiao. What do you think of that? All the talks been happening, and
That's just like it's just mind blowing because Ryan Garcia is just such a huge step up from Luke Campbell. I mean, if we're both thinking that Tank or Theo or Haney was a huge step up, fighting fucking Pacquiao is a massive step up. I mean, we're talking about a 8-time world division champion here who has been dominating this division for ages, So it's gonna be interesting for sure. But I've heard there's gonna be rumors that this is not gonna be an actual fight. It's gonna be exhibition rules. What do you
Yeah.
think?
To be honest, I'm not keen on it being an exhibition because what does it really do for Manny Pacquiao? The only thing it can really do is generate a lot of money. But
Well,
I feel
not
like
really. See, the thing is, he can keep his title. Like, if it's an exhibition, even if he loses, he's gonna keep his title. That doesn't affect his title, so it's a good scenario for Manny.
it wouldn't really affect his title either if he did just fought at different weights. Which is I don't know, to me that seems like 140 pounds, meeting midway, that seems like the easy, choice because Pacquiao is he's a small welterweight. Like he just is. It just seems a bit weird how it's like sure, for Ryan Garcia, he gets the opportunity of lifetime to fight Manny Pacquiao. It seems weird how you'd want to do an exhibition instead of like an actual, career fight, which would be like the opportunity, everyone would dream of, it's like what it reminds me of is like Vladimir Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua. It's like Ryan Garcia's time to, literally just, have Pacquiao hand over the torch to him, in the ring. But yeah, we've talked about now here what we think of it, like opinion wise. What do you think of it, like when it comes to matchup? Like, do you think do you think Ryan stands a chance against Pacquiao?
Well, here's the thing, right? Pacquiao is 42, so he's 20 years older than Garcia.
Jeez,
Yeah,
Ryan Garcia, the
no.
62-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go, boys. No, he's older than Garcia, right? And then he hasn't fought since 2019. So that I don't know if that layoff is gonna affect him because with Lomachenko and the TO fight, it kind of did affect him.
Yeah.
But let's just say, right, the fight happens at 140. I don't know, because I can't see Pacquiao going down to 135. That's just ridiculous. He hasn't fought there in 13 years, I think.
Yeah.
And when he did, he destroyed that dude. Was it David Diaz?
Yeah, David Diaz.
Remember that fight?
2007, 2008.
Yeah, like 13 years ago. But yeah, I do think because it seems that Ryan is a bit faster than Pacquiao with hand speed, but I don't think anything's gonna face him because after facing Floyd Mayweather, which is super fast, I don't see Ryan Garcia surprising Pacquiao with any type of shots.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting.
There's positives and negatives, for Ryan Garcia. On the bright side, Ryan Garcia does a lot better against smaller opponents, and Manny Pacquiao is smaller than him. On the downside, Pacquiao stylistically is not really a great matchup for him because Pacquiao throws, punches in bunches. So if Garcia misses, he's leaving himself wide open, and since he's a bit flat-footed, it could really go badly for him. But I'm of course gonna pick Pacquiao, but best of luck to Garcia. Who are you gonna pick as who do you believe will come out on top?
I just think Pacquiao is he's gonna outbox Ryan. The thing I'm worried about though is Pacquiao doesn't really fight that well off the back foot. He doesn't fight amazing under pressure.
True.
And the thing is, if Ryan rushes him, how is he gonna deal with those shots? Can he take it? Can he move out of the way and go back to the offense? Because that's what he needs to do. He can't let Ryan become the aggressor. He needs to be the aggressor himself. But I do think he's gonna outbox Ryan.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ryan's biggest, chance is that he's a bit of a counter puncher, so he can kind of, counter Pacquiao's shots. But Pacquiao's got so much more experience. He's been in there before. He's proven to everyone he's, one of the best of all time. So saying it's a hard fight for him is an understatement. For Ryan Garcia, of course. So what do you think of what's next for Tank Davis? Because of course he was about to fight Ryan Garcia, and then Ryan Garcia pulled out, to fight Pacquiao. What do you think is like the next big fight for him, or the next few fights this and next year?
I don't know. I kind of felt bad for Tank because after Ryan was talking mad trash to him on Twitter, he kind of decided to scrap that fight and go to Garcia. I don't know in terms, because basically for Tank, anyone at lightweight would be an insane fight. Tio versus Tank, that would make an incredible fight. Him against David Haney will be amazing as well. But I don't know. It's just I can't see a possible opponent for Tank right now.
I see
I don't know.
opponents.
How about you?
I
Which
see
one?
opponents. Vasily Lomachenko. That's an opponent right there. That'd be because before the Teofimo loss, I'm pretty sure most people would favor Lomachenko to beat Tank. But now that Lomachenko's tasted defeat, maybe he's a bit more hesitant, and Tank's coming off the biggest knockout of his career. It's a 50-50 fight, which would prove whether Tank is as good as he is, as the hype says he is, or if he's not. Because Ryan Garcia really and Teofimo are the only really proven guys in the division. Sure, Tank's been, proven at different weight classes, but he's not, been proven at 135 at lightweights. He beat Gamboa, but it was a bit of a competitive fight at times. I think like being someone in the top 3 would really, put him in for a Teofimo clash, really.
Yeah, Loma would make a good fight. I don't know though. I wouldn't say it's a 50-50. I'll favor more Tank because some fighters take defeat kind of badly, as we saw with Wilder. That kind of affected him psychologically as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's gonna really necessarily affect him, but Tank has the best body movement in the division. He is one of the best counterpunchers in the division, and he has the best KO ratio. He has it better than Wilder. So I do think he can pose some serious trouble to Loma. He can even knock Loma out with a clean shot. That being said, Loma has never been completely hurt or stunned. No. So it will be like a shock if Tank could stun him or knock him out.
Yeah.
In terms of, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, no. I do see what you mean. I do agree. I think that like Lomachenko as well hasn't like really taken a loss while he's been, making. I think it's fair to say he's been making a lot of excuses about the Teofimo fight, and I don't think Teofimo is going to give him the rematch. So I think that his best options for Lomachenko is to go for either Tank or Haney, and that's a good fight for Tank. So I think if I was Tank's manager, I'd be like, take Lomachenko, and then take on Garcia afterwards, and then afterwards go to Tio or Haney or who else. Yeah. But crazy how active both lightweight divisions are in boxing right now. But talking about another division in boxing, super lightweights, still in lightweights, Adrian the Problem Broner is making a comeback in February. What do you think of that?
Bro, that's just insane, man. Like, I'm so glad man is back. He's probably one of the most loved and hated guys in boxing. He's kind of like the Floyd Mayweather. He was loved and hated. But Broner had it rough, especially recent, because he lost a lot of money. He was arrested for a period of time. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just insane. I was never a huge Broner fan myself. I know you're a huge Broner fan, so I haven't really watched many of his fights, but I did watch him against Pacquiao, and the way he did in that fight, he did amazingly. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be more aggressive and great. But I do really like Broner, like his style, his charisma. He's just so likable. So yeah.
I think his offer Broner is like he's needed the time off, as you've been talking about how losses have not been affecting fight as well. He needed the time off to really come to terms with himself. And now here, so it's exciting because Broner, a lot of people forget this, but back in 2013, he was like just right there on the step to superstardom. He was, he was on pound for pound list. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he can make a big splash. And I think a few fights up ahead for him against Rigas Prograis or Josh Taylor Ramirez or anyone at lightweights is a great matchup. And I think okay, let's say even if he does lose, right? a win over him for one of these young guys like Ramirez, Haney, Garcia, whatever it is. He's someone who's like is kind of like Gamboa. He's got a
Yeah.
big name, so he is a fight which is good for everyone. Everyone's gonna want that fight because he's a good name to have on your resume.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's an amazing fighter, and beating Broner, it's just gonna give everyone a boost of confidence that they need to become world champion. You just need that little spark. But to be honest, I don't see Broner losing this fight. I think he wants to come back strong. I think he wants
Yeah.
to leave an impression.
Oh, if he loses this fight, it's over. It's over. This is all or nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, he needs to win this fight. But I see him very motivated and stuff. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him. And going back to YouTube boxing, but not really YouTube boxing, Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul has been delayed. It's not been said when it's gonna come back. It's not been cancelled. It's just been delayed. What do you think about that?
Well, the main reason probably I think they got delayed is because of the Broner fight. They were on the schedule on the same day, and I do think that having Mayweather and Broner on the same day, people would obviously choose Mayweather over Broner, which obviously wouldn't be good for ratings. So, and that's not
Yeah.
technically it's an exhibition fight. It's not a pro fight. Broner is a pro fight, so it's more important.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna be delayed for that long. Probably we're gonna get it back in April or March
Yeah.
because I don't see any reasons why it should stay canceled for a long time. Both of them are in good condition, so no reason.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the fight, if anything, the Jake Paul fight's coming up is just gonna make the Logan Paul fight bigger because Jake and Logan's names are automatically tied together. Adrian Broner and Floyd's names are tied together. So is Tanks. So I mean, just from all the guys, everyone around this, it's a big fight because of just two big personalities clashing. And I think that they need to build some sort of narrative to, really push it. Like Tyson versus Jones, they had the narrative of the fight that never was is happening. They need something like that for this one, and I think it's
Yeah,
going to be a big hit.
for sure.
But yeah,
Because we're looking at the best, like all of these guys, Floyd, Broner, Jake, Logan. They're one of the biggest names on the internet, especially Floyd,
yeah,
Logan, and Jake. Like everyone knows them. So you need a huge hype, build up to that fight. And I do think
yeah,
it's good that it got delayed because the longer it gets delayed, the more hype. And then hopefully it's not gonna disappoint though, because if it's disappointing and this like lead up,
yeah.
it'll suck. But I don't think it would.
Yeah, just Floyd throwing one jab and then not letting Logan throw it all, just winning the round. No. But when you said the best, and then after you mentioned Floyd Brown, and then you brought in Logan and Jake Paul, is not going to be no. He's not going to call Logan and Jake Paul the best boxers. But no, I'm glad you didn't. No, that was.
No. They're the biggest names on the
Yeah,
internet, but nowhere near the best boxers. And coming back to Jake, it kind of pisses me off that Jake was talking so much trash about Connor's performance.
yeah,
Because after the Nate Robinson win, Jake had a huge confidence boost. But it's
huge
not
ego
like he won
boost.
over exactly. But it's not like he won over fucking Mike Tyson. He didn't knock Mike Tyson out. He knocked out Nate Robinson, who he never had a professional fight ever, who's never fought ever. He is just a basketball player, comes from a different sport. So I don't get where his confidence comes from. It's like, bro, if you won against a professional fighter, then maybe. But don't talk trash about Connor's performance and stuff like that, because that's not cool.
I think where Jake's confidence is coming from is because he believes he is a top dog. And the reason why he believes that, even though we both know that he hasn't really faced top competition, with Deji called him out. He fought him. Everyone told him that he was ducking, Gibb. He beat Gibb. Nate Robinson called out Jake Paul. And now, Ben Askren said, I want the Jake Paul fight. So he's being called out. He is the one that people are pointing to and thinking, I want him, I want him. You're the one I want. So in his mind, he's just beating everyone that's coming up in front of him. So I kind of do see it, but at the same time, no offense, but calling Dustin Poirier bomb. It's just
it's not smart.
Yeah, I think it's more like misinformed, or I don't even know. Maybe he's just playing mind tricks. I mean, he's good at that because I respect him, right? But some of the things he says, it's like, okay. Yeah, I think that was all the topics there. Any final thoughts on the current state of combat sports?
I mean, to be honest, I think combat sport is at its peak right now, both in UFC and in boxing. So many good stuff are happening.
Yeah.
So many good events will happen in the future. So yeah, I'm just hoping for them to continue on. That's kind of it.
Yeah, I share your sentiment. I think that both the UFC and boxing are doing well. I know Muay Thai, kickboxing have been, even though they're still not mainstream, they've been picking up in popularity, and people are going to bare knuckles. So I mean, there's lots of variety, out and about, and the future looks pretty promising once COVID's all over. So yeah, that's gonna be good. So yeah, that was the Inferno Combat
Podcast. Second episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks for watching. I'm Hadrian.
I'm Callan.
Peace out.
And then peace out. Yeah.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You can't hit what you can't see. Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I'm gonna float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You can't hit what you can't see. Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.